Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into one of the most significant, brutal, and complex events in world history, World War II. From 1939 to 1945, nearly every major country on the globe was involved, from the Allies led by the United States, the Soviet Union, and Britain to the Axis powers, led by Germany, Italy, and Japan. World War II shaped the modern world. So stick with me as we unpack this intense, complicated, and very human story. Let's start with the background. The roots of World War II go deep. After World War I ended in 1918, Europe was devastated. The Treaty of Versailles blamed Germany for the war and imposed huge reparations, which devastated their economy and caused severe political unrest. Add to that the Great Depression in 1929, and you get a perfect storm for radical ideologies to take hold. Leaders like Adolf Hitler in Germany, Benito Mussolini in Italy, and Emperor Hirohito in Japan saw an opportunity to capitalize on their nation's anger and need for change. These leaders turned to militarization and expansion to assert power. Hitler aimed to reclaim and expand German territories. Mussolini had his eyes set on creating a new Roman Empire, and Japan, lacking resources, turned to aggressive expansion across Asia. In the 1930s, Germany, Italy, and Japan started making moves that worried the world. Japan invaded Manchuria in 1931, Italy invaded Ethiopia in 1935, and Germany annexed Austria in 1938. These were clear signs of aggression, but the global powers were hesitant to intervene. In 1939, the world reached a tipping point when Germany signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact with the Soviet Union, essentially a non-aggression agreement. This pact shocked the world because it allowed Hitler to avoid a two-front war with the Soviets. With this assurance, Hitler invaded Poland on September 1, 1939. Just 2 days later, Britain and France declared war on Germany, marking the official start of World War II. During the first few years, the Axis powers had the upper hand. Germany used a tactic called Blitzkrieg or lightning war, which relied on speed and surprise. With this strategy, German forces quickly overran Poland, Denmark, Norway, Belgium, the Netherlands, and eventually France by June 1940. Europe was largely under Nazi control. In the Pacific, Japan had seized parts of China and Southeast Asia. The Allies were overwhelmed and ill-prepared for this level of coordinated aggression. Italy also joined the war, attacking British territories in North Africa and trying to expand its empire in the Mediterranean. One of the first major turning points came with the Battle of Britain. In 1940, the German Luftwaffe launched an air campaign against Britain, intending to force them into submission. However, the British, led by Prime Minister Winston Churchill, showed incredible resilience. They used radar technology, strong defenses, and had a determined spirit. By the end of 1940, Germany had failed to conquer Britain, marking Hitler's first major setback. Then, in 1941, Hitler made a strategic blunder by invading the Soviet Union in Operation Barbarossa. He believed the USSR would collapse quickly, but Soviet forces fought fiercely, and the harsh winter made conditions unbearable for German troops. This invasion opened up a grueling Eastern Front, stretching Germany's resources and marking the beginning of a long, drawn-out struggle. In 1941, the war took another major turn with the United States entry. On December 7th, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, hoping to cripple the American Pacific Fleet. This surprise attack shocked the U.S. and led them to declare war on Japan the next day. In response, Germany and Italy declared war on the United States. With the U.S. joining the Allies, they brought not only fresh troops but vast industrial resources. This was a game changer. American factories began producing planes, ships, tanks, and other materials at an unprecedented rate, eventually overwhelming Axis forces. With the U.S. on board, the Allies began pushing back. In North Africa, British and American forces defeated the Germans and Italians by 1943, securing the Mediterranean. From there, they moved into Italy, where the Italian government eventually surrendered and switched sides in 1943, though German forces continued fighting there. In the Pacific, the U.S. adopted an island-hopping strategy. They bypassed heavily fortified Japanese islands, capturing key positions to cut off Japanese supply lines. Key battles, like Midway in 1942, turned the tide against Japan, leading to gradual Allied gains in the Pacific. One of the most famous events of the war was D-Day, June 6, 1944. The Allies launched a massive invasion of Nazi-occupied France, landing on the beaches of Normandy. This was the beginning of the end for Germany. With the Western Allies advancing from France and the Soviets pushing from the east, Germany was squeezed on both sides. By April 1945, Allied forces had reached Berlin. Hitler committed suicide, and on May 7th, Germany officially surrendered. This marked the end of the war in Europe, a moment known as V-Day Victory in Europe Day. But the war wasn't over just yet. Japan continued to fight fiercely. The U.S. faced brutal battles on Iwo Jima and Okinawa in 1945, suffering heavy losses. To avoid a costly invasion of Japan, President Harry Truman authorized the use of atomic bombs. In August 1945, the U.S. dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, leading Japan to surrender on September 2, 1945. This marked the end of World War II and brought peace to a war-ravaged world. World War II left a lasting impact. The United Nations was formed to prevent future conflicts. The United States and the Soviet Union emerged as superpowers, setting the stage for the Cold War. European nations were devastated, leading to a wave of decolonization as colonies sought independence. Germany and Japan were occupied and transformed into democratic nations, while Europe began a long recovery. In human terms, World War II was one of the deadliest conflicts in history, with an estimated 70 to 85 million lives lost. Entire cities were destroyed, economies collapsed, and millions of families were changed forever. World War II was a global catastrophe, but it also reshaped the world in profound ways. The conflict showed both the worst and best of humanity, from atrocities to heroism, devastation to resilience. It's crucial we remember these events, learn from them, and honor those who sacrificed so much. Thanks for joining me on this journey through history. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon if you want more content like this. See you next time.